Some events seem pretty normal on the surface, but when you dig a little deeper, you'll discover that they are even stranger than you could have imagined. Let's take a look at this weird case of a young girl who left home and never returned. Make sure to watch till the end so you don't miss any of the shocking details. On June 5th, 1988, a young girl by the name of Doreen Jane Vincent had moved from Bridgeport, Connecticut to a place called Wallingford. Now, the city of Bridgeport has the largest population in the state of Connecticut, while Wallingford is a little town with a much smaller population than Bridgeport. Doreen had moved to Wallingford to live with her stepmother Sharon and her father Mark. She was also supposed to begin the 8th grade at West Woods Christian Academy that fall. But Doreen was unhappy. She didn't like living in the woods of Wallingford. She thought it was just too isolated and rural, and it was vastly different from her life back in the city. According to her stepmother, Doreen also missed her friends back in Bridgeport and wanted to go back so badly. The days dragged on, and Doreen's feelings about her new home didn't change. So on the night of June 15th, 1988, she packed a bag with some extra clothes and money and left. Everyone assumed that Doreen had gone back to Bridgeport to be with her friends. But was this the whole story? When Doreen left the house, no one thought anything of it. In fact, it seemed pretty normal because this wasn't her first time doing something like this. Although she was only 12 years old, she had actually run away once before and hitchhiked to her mother's house in the city of Waterbury, Connecticut. It was also quite common for kids to run away from their homes in Wallingford. Because of this, the police treated it like a runaway case. They figured that this was just another instance of her leaving home to go see her friends in the city and thought she would eventually return. They didn't bother investigating, and the evidence trail ran cold. But after 3 days, there was still no sign of Doreen. If she had gone to see her friends in Bridgeport, she would have been back by now. So on that third day, she was officially reported missing, and investigators would treat this as a disappearance instead of a runaway. When the authorities began looking into Doreen's case, they would learn things about her family life that would absolutely shock them. On the night of Doreen's disappearance, her stepmother Sharon was at church. Doreen and her father Mark were the only two in the house. According to Mark, the last time he had seen his daughter was in the kitchen a little before 8 p.m. He didn't stay in the kitchen for too long and went back into his workshop. He then went to check on Doreen around 9 p.m. and noticed that she wasn't in her bedroom. When Sharon came back from church around 11:30 p.m., he told her that he couldn't find Doreen. Although Mark provided the details of what happened that night, there seemed to be some inconsistencies with his story. He also claimed that he and Doreen had an argument, so she took some clothes and money and left through the front door. Now, if he knew that his daughter left through the front door after they argued, why would he be surprised about not finding her in her bedroom? On top of this, his wife Sharon said she didn't believe her husband's story because their front door had a deadbolt and had to be opened from the inside with a key. But Sharon had the only key, and she had brought it with her to church that night. Was Mark lying about the events that led up to his daughter's disappearance? Did he know more than he was letting on? Despite his wife doubting the accuracy of his story, this was only the tip of the iceberg. Police would soon discover some extremely disturbing details that would lead them to their prime suspect. It was revealed that Mark used to like taking photos of Doreen, and some of them were very inappropriate. Authorities also learned that Mark had a very explosive temper, which caused him to get violent at times. On the night of Doreen's disappearance, Mark was angry with his daughter. He admitted that he hit her, pushed her into a window, and broke it. What's even more disturbing is that Doreen's aunts claimed that Mark used to touch them inappropriately when they were younger, and they worried that he may have been doing that to Doreen as well. 2 days after her disappearance, Doreen's mother, Donna, planned to pick up Doreen so they could spend some time together. But when she called Mark's house on June 17th, no one answered the phone. It would later be revealed that Mark had removed the phone from the wall. When Donna went to Mark's house the next day, she would discover something quite shocking. Donna quickly realized that Doreen was missing, and Mark hadn't even called the police. In fact, he didn't even seem concerned about where she might be. If it wasn't for Donna's persistence, Doreen would have never been reported missing that day. As the investigation continued, more troubling information would come to light about Doreen's disappearance. Roughly 2 months after Doreen disappeared, a state officer encountered a man at night in the woods. The woods are part of a park that span across the towns of Redding and Bethel. The officer said he saw the man removing something from his pickup truck and carrying it off into the woods. There was also a dented toolbox in the back of the truck. Based on the description of the truck and the license plate, police were able to confirm that the truck belonged to Mark Vincent. They even found some black hairs in the back of the pickup truck, but had nothing to compare it to for DNA. Mark's mother also lived in the town of Bethel. Could this have been a coincidence? Was Mark the man in the woods that night? What was he doing at that hour, so far away from his home? The police continued their investigation, and nearly a year after Doreen's disappearance, they uncovered even more disturbing clues. When they searched Mark's mother's house, they found items belonging to Doreen. But they weren't just any items. These were items that Mark claimed his daughter had taken with her when she left the house that night. How could he possibly have them in his possession? However, one of the strangest things about this case happened 11 years after the original incident. In 1999, Doreen's mother Donna hired a psychic and a medium to do a reading in an attempt to help figure out where her daughter might be buried. The psychic came up with the words hunting and hunter. This led them to Huntington Park, which was the name of the park where Mark's pickup truck was found that night. But the craziest part is that Mark's middle name is Hunter. Although Mark has not been charged in Doreen's disappearance, he continues to be the main suspect. Meanwhile, Donna hopes her daughter is alive, but also just wants closure. It is clear that there is more to this disappearance than meets the eye, but sadly, we might never be sure of what truly happened that night. If you have a mysterious disappearance or strange incident that you'd like us to cover, send us an email at veryweirdish@gmail.com. And if you want to see more content like this, make sure to let us know in the comments below. If you made it to the end of this video, that can only mean one thing. You are seriously into some weird-ish. So go ahead and press that like button, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more weird content just like this.